The moment he stepped inside is etched in my mind, not for its drama or theatrics. It never was. He walked on unburdened, yet heavy with what was left behind. No embraces from the past, no shouts of astonishment. A fleeting nod, a timid smile, and a dry, casual greeting. He stepped into a life that had moved on without him. Yet, an unseen force stirred the atmosphere. A silence that aches, unspoken yet profound. He had transformed. Years had passed since I last laid eyes on him. Not since he was a gangly teen that summer long ago. Now, tall and lean in a faded gray t-shirt clinging to his chest from the heat, his jaw faintly shadowed, he resembled a man who could rent a car, not the one who once played with Legos on my living room floor. He arrived for the summer and everything changed. My husband's nephew, a fleeting shadow in our lives. Restoring furniture, sharing the guest room, gathering at our table. Everything was already set in motion, decided in my absence, and I stayed silent. I never did. Our house was a sanctuary of silence, more structured than inviting. Yet it thrived. We thrived together. The initial days were steeped in the ordinary. Quiet exchanges over coffee, fleeting looks at dinner, subtle nods in passing. I saw what was never meant to be seen. He lingered over the drawing, each movement deliberate and heavy with unspoken thoughts. His collarbone shifted beneath his skin as he reached for something high, a fleeting moment that held a world of unspoken tension. I convinced myself it meant nothing. I convinced myself it was only curiosity about the newcomer in our midst. Strange. But that was a lie. One morning he was gone, leaving an echo of absence behind. The kitchen was alive with the intoxicating scent of fresh peaches and warm cinnamon. I was lost in the rhythm of muffin making. He stepped in barefoot, hair damp from a hasty shower, eyes clouded with remnants of sleep. His movements were disquieting, a haunting dance that sent chills down the spine. Unaware, yet deeply unyielding. Simply raw. Comfortable in his own skin. In the vastness of space. He slumped against the counter, a yawn escaping, and murmured, "You seem like the kind of person who can brighten up mornings." I hesitated to reply. I stirred the batter, each movement heavy with unspoken thoughts. Focus on the bowl. My pulse quickened. Silence shatters unpredictably. As our eyes met, a smile broke free. A smile that hints at intimacy, just before boundaries blur. "Only muffins," I insisted. It was so much more than muffins. It was the dress I picked that fateful morning. A delicate cotton piece that clung to my waist. I convinced myself it was just the weather. Yet, other dresses lingered in the closet. More relaxed. More secure options. That evening I felt the shift within me once more. A new look. As if the initial one had missed the mark entirely. I was lost in confusion. Perhaps I did. The silk camisole beneath my sweater felt too exquisite for a quiet Wednesday night at home. The mere idea of him catching a glimpse of lace sent shivers down my spine. In the hallway I paused, straining to hear. My husband was upstairs, lost in a conference call. The guest room door whispered open. Light poured into the corridor, a warm golden sliver that beckoned with promise. He sat at the desk, lost in a world of sketches. Eyes cast low. Laser-focused. I lingered on him for 3 seconds too long. He was oblivious to my presence. I looked away just before the fourth. Excuses began to flow from my mind. "Please help me get this to the garage. Can this chair be brought back to life? Is this lamp off kilter?" Small moments. Seemingly innocent, yet lurking beneath lies a storm. Yet underneath a pulse stirred. One afternoon we stood in the backyard, lost in the thorns of the rose bushes. He dug, hands buried in the earth, sweat streaming down his jaw. As I watered the plants, the cool liquid splashed onto my sandals, a reminder of my clumsy care. He rose, dusted his hands, and approached me. "You missed a few," he said, pointing at the brittle leaves. "I love the flawed," I said impulsively. His gaze lingered, heavy with unspoken words. "Yeah," he finally said. "I know." That night I lingered in the shower, lost in thought. I scrubbed every inch of my skin, a ritual for an unknown event, though nothing awaited me. I picked a deep lipstick, then erased it completely. The reflection was foreign, not marked by age or weariness, but viewed as if through another's gaze. Maybe his. Change arrived in silence. In the kitchen once more. He stretched for the glass perched high on the shelf. His shirt rose just enough to expose a sliver of skin. Confined. Strained. I stood behind him, silently putting dishes away. So near. He retreated, eyes averted, and his arm grazed mine. A fleeting brush. Concise. Charged. He stood silent, unrepentant. We were frozen in place, both of us. It was all for nothing. But it happened. It held the weight of unspoken truths. That evening I walked past the guest room once more. The door stood slightly open, his voice echoing through the room as he spoke on the phone. I never intended to hear. I was merely passing through. His voice, a whisper, trembled beneath its usual strength. "No, I don't think I'll go anywhere this summer," he whispered, a shadow crossing his face. "This place feels right. This place feels alive." I held my breath, time freezing for an instant. In what way? Is it because of the beach close by? Those hushed dinners? Was it really me? I slipped into the shadows before he could catch a glimpse of me. In bed, beside my husband, I fixed my gaze on the ceiling. His breath came in calm, measured waves. I grasped his hand beneath the blanket, intertwining our fingers. The warmth enveloped everything. Known. Yet my body remained unyielding. Not with revulsion. No trace of resentment. Only silence. It's like grasping a snapshot of time, not the time itself. In that moment clarity struck. I was anchored, holding on tight. I had vanished. What's the most painful part? Doubt gnawed at me about returning. Tomorrow we'll find ourselves in the kitchen once more. He'd utter something nonchalant. I would burst into laughter. And so the cycle would start anew. Just a bit deeper. Just a breath away. A tense disintegration. Unforeseen. Silence reigns. Yet unavoidable. The following morning felt hauntingly mundane. I was the first to wake, as always. The kitchen light pierced through the haze, while the fogged windows concealed a garden slumbering in muted greens and grays. I yanked open the fridge, grabbed the eggs and milk, and reached for my familiar chipped mug. The one I could never truly forget. Every action felt hauntingly known. Pan on the stove, finger tracing the counter's edge, hair tucked behind my ear. Yet a force within me surged, wild and uncontainable. The air thickened, pulsing in sync with my breath. Or alongside him. He entered silently, feet bare, clad in a soft gray t-shirt and dark sweatpants. His hair clung to his forehead, damp and tousled from a hurried shower. He moved with effortless grace, oblivious to the way the air seemed to cling to him, drawn in by his presence. He approached the sink, filling a glass with water, a moment of stillness before the storm. Silence lingered, heavy and suffocating. And still it all changed. "Is it morning?" He spoke, his voice low and husky. I nodded, my voice barely a whisper. A morning like any other. My fingers shook as I raised the mug, and he saw it all. "Are you all right?" I smiled, avoiding his eyes. "Struggling to find rest?" I spoke. "Last night's coffee might have been too much." His doubt was palpable, cutting through the air between us. Yet he held back. We spoke in a language of evasion, hints and loaded pauses. He lounged at the table, one leg draped over the other, his foot almost touching mine beneath the surface. His presence enveloped me, a tangible warmth that ignited my senses. As I faced the stove, his voice cut through the air. "You wear that dress a lot?" I stood still, breath caught in my throat. The dress, dark blue and soft, clung to the waist, its neckline a delicate invitation. Modest yet purposeful. A dress that embraces your form, igniting your confidence. "It's comfortable," I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why not?" He shrugged, his eyes locking onto mine with a weight that spoke volumes. For the first time his gaze pierced through me. Not merely a glance but a deep gaze. He said, "You look different in that." I turned away, not in shame. But if I had lingered just a heartbeat longer, I might have reached him. Come nirer. Let the day spiral into an irreversible fate. I was unprepared for it. Not now. From that moment on, we silently vowed to stay apart. I stepped out, saying we were out of salt and napkins, but really I wandered the grocery store, lost among aisles, grabbing things I didn't want. My thoughts had vanished into silence. Only feelings. His skin, a canvas of stories untold. That voice. His gaze bore down like a heavy truth. Upon my return, he toiled in the backyard, focused on an aged wooden chair. He crouched low, sanding the edges with a steady, assured touch. His shirt hung open, sweat clinging to the fabric at his back. His shoulders swayed with a haunting rhythm, and I lingered at the door, captivated. I handed him a glass of water. "Thanks," he murmured, grasping it from my hands. His fingers grazed mine, rough yet warm. He gulped, swiped his mouth with his hand, then locked eyes with me. Not at the chair, not at the tools, but right at me. "I think it'll hold," he said, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes as he gestured toward the chair. "I truly hope so," I whispered back. "It predates our vows." His eyebrow arched, a silent challenge hanging in the air. "How long have you shared this journey?" 17 years. He paused, the weight of time hanging heavy. "Is it really that long?" "Some days stretch endlessly, while others vanish in an instant." He smiled, yet his expression held a haunting mystery. 17 years? You look far too young for that." "Thanks," I replied, forcing a laugh that barely masked my unease. Yet my voice fell short, unable to penetrate the depths hidden behind his words. A single question lingers. A moment of acknowledgement. And in my heart, a truth I feared to voice. That evening, I lost myself in a shower that seemed to stretch on forever. I applied the lotion reserved for moments that matter. Underneath my pajamas, the black lace whispered secrets of desire. It was never meant for his eyes, simply because, for what may come. Midnight approached as I crept down the stairs. I confessed that sleep eluded me. Perhaps I was never meant to. Perhaps I just had to know if he was still awake. He lay on the couch, lost in the pages of a book, the world outside fading away. Only shadows, illuminated by the gentle glow of the lamp behind him. The room felt like a haunting echo of the past. Known. Silence hangs heavy. Darkness envelopes. He stirred, a flicker of awareness igniting within him. "Rest eludes you?" I couldn't believe it. "Who are you?" He raised the book high. "I'm diving back into something that eludes me. I hoped the second time would make a difference." I smiled, stepping deeper into the room. At times, the repeat only deepens the pain. He leaned in, eyes piercing through me. "Your appearance tonight is strikingly unique." I never inquired about the how. I perched on the armchair's edge. Silence hung heavy between us. Yet it held so much more. It overflowed. Of something heavy and ascending. I turned my head toward him, poised to utter something light, something safe. I never had the opportunity. He leaned in, cautiously, as if gauging the heaviness of the moment. In that moment, everything changed. It happened in a heartbeat. It started as nothing more than a whisper of a touch. The electric touch of breath and warmth in a fleeting kiss. His hand cradled my cheek. Uncertain. Deeply respectful. Our lips barely touched, yet a fracture deep within me shattered. I stayed close. I remained calm. I surrendered to my emotions. He rose, breath quickening, heart racing. He averted his gaze as he whispered, "I'm sorry." She ascended the stairs, each step heavy with unspoken words. I lingered on the couch, my fingertips lingering on my lips. I stood still. I just couldn't. Regret was absent. Pure shock. Not from the event itself, but from the depth of my desire for it. And then tomorrow arrives. Tomorrow we'll meet eyes and wear our masks. Let's act like we're just family, merely visitors in one another's worlds. Yet, deep down I understood the truth. Once your lips touch another's, the world shifts forever. Craved more even then. He avoided my gaze at breakfast. Not from shame or discomfort. It was never that. He was courteous, reserved, and attentive when addressed. Yet, there was a change in the way he carried himself. He seemed to shrink away, as if space itself was a burden he wished to avoid. He seemed to struggle against deepening the pain. I watched him from across the table, my fingers nervously twisting the spoon in my coffee. The kiss lingered, electric and charged. Not mentioned. Yet it lingers fiercely. It hung in the air, thick and suffocating, weighing down each word and movement. My husband sat between us, lost in his phone, unaware of the tension brewing around him. He was a shield, a barrier that kept us apart, unyielding and cold. Yet it was precisely what rendered last night's memory hauntingly clear. After breakfast, my husband hurriedly packed for his brief business trip. A client from afar, demanding a face-to-face encounter. It was expected. He brought it up days ago, and I nodded, swiftly reshaping our plans. In that moment it seemed insignificant. The mere idea of spending a whole week alone in the house with him, and the nephew sent a cold knot twisting in my gut. A blend of excitement and fear. My husband brushed his lips against my cheek, murmuring something about traffic as he snatched his overnight bag and stepped out the door. He missed how my hand trembled at the table's edge once he shut the door. He never bothered to ask if I needed anything. He never did it. As I glanced back to the kitchen, he loomed in the doorway. Silence hung heavy between them. Me neither. The silence pressed down, heavy and suffocating. A fresh form emerges. It enveloped us, a presence both gentle and inescapable. He brushed by, reaching for a glass of water, and his presence swept through the room like a whisper of wind. He was within reach but miles away. Should I leave for a few days? He asked, voice barely above a whisper filled with caution. Absolutely not. I spoke too fast, then hesitated. That number. It's unnecessary. He nodded, silence heavy between them. He simply couldn't. His offer revealed the thoughts I desperately tried to suppress. Being in that space again would ignite memories too powerful to ignore. Desire fades. That afternoon he returned to the backyard, focused on the small wooden chest we had discovered at a flea market months earlier, untouched and waiting for revival. I folded laundry, my eyes glued to him through the window, or feigning it. His arms danced with a haunting grace. His face tightened, a subtle furrow forming as he meticulously sanded the surface. His precision, his patience, it stirred a deep ache within me. My husband embodied efficiency. Every moment in our lives held meaning, a role, a significance. Our intimacy, when it finally arrived, felt like a mere appointment. Unwavering. Decent enough. Surprisingly agreeable. Simply devoid of astonishment. Of awe. I stepped outside, lost in thought. The heat enveloped me, a suffocating embrace, while the sharp scent of cut grass and sawdust clawed at my senses. I crept forward, bare feet silent, clutching a glass of lemonade. You've been out here for hours. He glanced up, eyes narrowing against the harsh light. I overlooked it. I passed him the drink. Our fingers brushed once more, and this time we held steady. I acknowledged your skill. He sipped, a fleeting smile crossing his lips. It's the one thing that brings my racing thoughts to a halt. What crosses your mind when they're anything but slow? He hesitated, gazed into my soul. His face revealed the struggle within, torn between truth and silence. Then slowly I held my gaze steady. I should have. Yet I chose not to. We lingered in the shadows, the distance between us closing, though we remained still. My heart raced in unexpected rhythms. Wrists, knees, the hollow of my throat. Don't say that. I whispered, my voice trembling. It's undeniable. In that moment, truth was a perilous weapon. Not for the sake of lives shattered, but to shatter the silence we desperately held on to. A silence shielded us from the smoldering flames beneath. That evening I proposed we dine al fresco. The air chilled, light cascading in golden shards through the trees. Candles flickered, napkins were laid out, and the long-saved bottle of wine was uncorked, ready for a moment that felt electric. He stepped forward, ready to grill vibrant vegetables and fresh fish. I let him go. Silence hung between us, yet it felt oddly right. Time hung in the balance, like the breath held before the next note strikes. He was watching me and I felt it. A spark ignited in the silence. As I stretched for something on the table, his gaze lingered on my collarbone, igniting a spark of tension. The arch of my shoulder. It burned against my skin. In that fleeting moment, breath escaped me. You're stunning tonight, he whispered. I laughed, a fleeting spark in the silence. Not from disbelief, but from the peril of hope. To embrace that truth. It enveloped me, tender yet intrusive. As I began to clear the table, he reached out, halting me in my tracks. Come with me, he urged, his voice a whisper of urgency. I paused, heart racing. Where are you? Just arrive. We crept behind the house, where the old garage had transformed into a haunting studio space. It sat there untouched, a silent witness to his absence. It was a chaotic mix of forgotten treasures, abandoned furniture, remnants of lost memories, paint cans whispering of dreams unfulfilled. He opened the door. Darkness enveloped him, silence pressing in. The scent of wood and varnish thick in the air. He flicked on a lone lamp in the shadows. Light spilled onto the canvas, casting shadows of untold stories. I never realized he had this talent for painting. I was the one. Not quite, not in a way that captures the essence. Yet the form was undeniable. My head tilts, my back arches, frozen in a moment of grasping at the unseen. Hair flowing, stance vulnerable. It was no mere woman in disguise. A woman lost in her own world. You created this? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He nodded, a silent agreement heavy with unspoken weight. When will it happen? He paused, heart racing. The first night sleep eluded me. I looked away. The burden was unbearable. In that moment, being seen felt profoundly sacred. Raw, unfiltered, yet undeniably present. I can't let you continue like this, I murmured, my voice trembling. What are you up to? It's a struggle to numb the overwhelming emotions. Stillness. And then so silently, I understand. Stepping out of the studio, a chill swept through the air. My skin tingled, but it wasn't the chill of the wind. We remained apart. Our lips never met. As I lay in bed that night, the painting seared into my mind. It transcended beauty. It was never about desire. It was about being seen wholly, silently, without expectation. My husband had never witnessed me in such a way. 17 years gone. Now I couldn't shake the thought of all I had overlooked, or what more he could offer. He returned to the garage the following morning. I felt it deep within me. The cadence of his movements echoed in my ears. The harsh rasp of sandpaper. The faint pulse of music whispered through his earbuds. He stepped outside, pausing briefly to stretch, to gather his tools, the air thick with anticipation. The door lingered ajar, just as he always did. A call, silent yet heavy with unspoken meaning. I drifted through the morning, battling the relentless march of time. I stayed in the shower, lost in thought, time slipping away. Each stroke deliberate. Every inch of my skin was drenched, as if I was readying myself for a sacred rite. That day my wardrobe felt unsettling. I lingered by the closet, lost in thought. Eyes darting over cotton dresses. Soft linen drapes whispering comfort. Blouses that whispered of errands. Practicality cloaked in muted tones. I grasped a cream-colored top, its buttons gleaming with promise. Gentle. Translucent. Teasing the dark lace beneath. Yet it lingered just shy of the edge. As I emerged, the sun blazed fiercely above. Crouched by the old dresser, he traced delicate lines on the drawer handles, each stroke a whisper of emotion. He was oblivious to my presence. You've been out here all morning, I said, my voice barely above a whisper as I leaned against the doorway. He glanced up, eyes narrowing against the light. A single bead of sweat slid down his temple. When I'm locked in, time bends and warps around me. I nodded, words caught in my throat. The air between us had shifted, now electric with unspoken words. It had become a hushed whisper, riskier, intimate with fire. Awareness of the pain, yet the pull was irresistible. The warmth had become a necessity. After a moment of silence, I whispered, I'm considering a drive to that antique place. The one by the abandoned train station. There could be some items that would work perfectly for my client. He wiped his hands on a rag, then rose, tension crackling in the air. Need someone by your side? His question hung in the air, charged with intent. Nothing less than serious. Serious and profound. His voice carried a weight I had never felt before. He was never testing me. He presented a fleeting instant we couldn't erase. Indeed, I affirmed. Ido. The silence hung heavy between us as we drove. The car hummed with the rush of wind, a fleeting melody from the radio cutting through the silence. The road demanded my attention, but his presence loomed, impossible to ignore. His knee brushed the console, a fleeting touch that ignited a spark. His hand lingered on his thigh, dangerously close to mine. As we entered the shop, the dusty furniture and worn leather-bound books offered a welcome escape. A labyrinth of lost treasures, each item whispering tales of unknown lives. We moved through it, sometimes apart, sometimes drawn back together, unaware of the pull. I paused before the mirror. Lofty, ancient, chipped edges tell a story of wear and time. I stared at my reflection, a stranger gazing back at me. Her eyes shone with an intensity that pierced the soul. Her lips were drawn tight. A flush crept across her cheeks, ignited by something deeper than the heat. He moved closer, a heartbeat away. The mirror lies. It can't capture your true essence. I remained silent. I feared that if I spoke, my voice would shatter beneath the burden of all that remained unsaid. As we packed a chair and a lamp into the car, he turned to me and asked if I wanted to grab lunch. A small diner lingered nearby, a relic of the past with worn red booths and glossy menus that whispered stories of yesteryear. We huddled by the window, sunlight slicing through, illuminating our table with fleeting warmth. His eyes locked onto me, unyielding as I stirred sugar into my tea. Your silence speaks volumes. My mind is a storm, overflowing with thoughts, yet there's no room to hold them all. He leaned in, tension crackling in the air. Now speak one aloud. As I gazed at him, a part of me unraveled, like a lock yielding softly, effortlessly. I no longer recognize myself, I confessed, uncertain if this change is a blessing or a curse. His voice whispered, heavy with secrets. Perhaps this is the moment you truly confront your own reflection. The words lingered, weighty and suffocating, like the heat trapped behind the glass. The drive back dragged on, each moment stretching painfully. I can't recall what we left behind, but my heart started to race in a new rhythm. Our eyes met, a spark igniting in the silence. His gaze held steady, void of a smile. That gaze lingered, haunting me as we rolled into the driveway. The house was cooler, darker, as if it had been longing for our return. I set the chair in the corner, my hand trembling as it grasped the lamp. Our fingers barely touched as he passed it to me. That brief touch pierced me with a sudden intensity. I stood still, heart racing. He did too. He moved in, heart racing. I think about you all the time, he murmured, his voice barely a breath. Even when I resist. My breath hitched. My hands clutched the lamp, yet my body froze in place. I wake up, haunted by the way you stir your coffee, the sound of your laughter when you're lost in thought, the graceful movement of your shoulders as you stretch in the morning. He moved forward, heart racing. It's more than mere longing. It's complicated. I released the lamp, retreating to the wall, craving the strength of something unyielding. His words shattered the fragile boundaries I had built in my mind. I shouldn't say these things, I murmured, my voice trembling with uncertainty. But they are real, he said. You feel them, don't you? I shut my eyes tight. I wished to act as if I didn't care. I wished I could walk away untouched by the flames. Did you really think I was blind to it? He pressed on. Your fingers dance through your hair the moment I walk in. The way your voice shifts when you utter my name. I see the tremor in your hands when we're near. I opened my eyes. He stood before me. So close once more. So near. But I stayed still. I'm not asking for anything, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I want you to understand that I truly see you. Each one of you. It's the most breathtaking thing I've ever experienced. That night, I slipped under the covers, leaving him behind. His words echoed in my mind, stealing my resolve to fight the darkness. My husband called earlier, his voice distant, a fleeting moment of connection. I lied and said everything was fine. I swear I didn't lie. Not quite. I tossed and turned, lost in the darkness. The cold sheets clung to me, his words lingering like fingerprints on my spine. Sleep eluded me. His silhouette in the dimming glow, whispering words I'd never known from the man I once called mine. The drive lingered, the diner beckoned, the antique store whispered, the mirror revealed, the woman stared back. Strange. Painful. Breathing. For the first time, fear had no hold on me. I yearned to be her. The rain struck suddenly. It poured, relentless and fierce. Not the soft drizzle that fades into silence. A torrential rain fell without warning. Thunderous against the glass, chaotic and untamed. The sky turned dark in an instant, leaving the cushions on the patio and the laundry on the swing forgotten. Yet it all felt meaningless. Not today. He stood there, drenched, fighting against the rain to shield the half-finished dresser with a flimsy plastic sheet. The water clung to his shirt, a second skin, revealing every contour of his back, shoulders, and chest. His hair clung to his forehead, droplets cascading down his jaw, tracing his neck. He was a living masterpiece, captivating and alive. a fragile balance of rebellion and acceptance. I stayed silent. I stood there bare as the rain poured down. I watched him through the glass, and flames ignited within me. He burst in, soaked and gasping, and there I was waiting in the kitchen. My feet touched the cold ground, a thin cardigan draped over my bare skin, just a camisole and leggings beneath. I didn't even notice I had taken off my bra while changing. Perhaps I did. I can no longer distinguish between what was chance and what was choice. Our gazes locked. Silence hung heavy between them. No courteous chuckle about the storm. Only silence. Sharp and cutting, it leaves a mark. He yanked his shirt off, letting it fall to the tile with a heavy thud. My breath hitched. I tried to turn away, but my eyes were glued. His skin burned with cold, and his chest heaved in jagged, desperate gasps. "Hand me a towel," he whispered. I nodded and stepped toward the linen closet in the dim hallway. My hands trembled as I opened the cabinet. The towels lay in perfect order. Blank, pristine, utterly uniform. I picked the softest and moved toward him. He never took it from me. He remained motionless as I drew near, and I finally acted on what I had long denied myself. I pressed the towel against his skin, starting with his shoulders, then moving to his chest. I advanced with purpose, acutely conscious of the distance between us, each step bringing me closer. His breath caught as my hand grazed his side. The heat radiated from him, an electric pulse beneath his skin. In that instant, I realized something unchangeable was about to unfold. The towel fell, a silent surrender on the counter. He moved in, the scent of rain lingering on his skin, electrifying the air between us. Raw, pure, charged. His hand brushed my hip, pausing, electric. My heart raced, threatening to overpower the raging storm beyond. "I have to believe this is real," he whispered, desperation lacing his voice. "No, irraplia." Our lips collided. This time it was decisive, unyielding. The kiss consumed them, fierce and unyielding. It took my breath away, igniting my nerves like flames consuming dry leaves. His hands gripped my face, drawing me in, and I surrendered completely. In that instant, the emotion surged, the choice I had sealed long before this night unfolded. The moment we separated, the kitchen fell into a heavy silence. Outside, the rain poured relentlessly, but within these walls, a different storm had erupted. "I'm sorry," he said, but his eyes betrayed him. "I'm not," I shot back, and I truly wasn't, not at all. Silence stretched between us for what felt like an eternity. He snatched his shirt from the floor and vanished into the shadows of the hallway. I lingered at the counter, hands pressed against the surface, gaze lost in emptiness. Every part of me pulsed with life. Electric, terrified, thrilled, younger than ever and dangerously alive. As the rain whispered its final notes, I stepped onto the porch, heart racing, to retrieve the forgotten laundry. It was ruined, yet I felt nothing. The air hung cool, thick with the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil and pine. The sky hung heavy, a bruised lilac, vast and oppressive. He emerged from the shadows just behind me. I stayed still. "You didn't need to say that," he whispered. "What did you say? You feel no regret." I had known all along. I turned slowly and met his gaze. "Do you really believe that improves anything?" "No," he whispered. "Yet it brings the truth to life." Silence enveloped us once more. A silence that follows the weight of truth laid bare. There was no turning back now. Never again. "Guilt should consume me," I whispered. "Do you really?" I stayed silent, lost in uncertainty. Silence enveloped the house, heavy and foreboding. My husband called at 9. His voice heavy with the weight of one more day spent away, buried in paperwork. I feigned disappointment, muttering about leftover lasagna. His laughter echoed, a bittersweet reminder of his longing for me. The phone's silence echoed in my mind, long after the call was over. Shadows swallowed the light. My reflection gazed back, haunting and profound. Later, I gazed into the mirror, examining my own reflection. The tender rise of my lips, the subtle warmth spreading over my chest, the lingering memory of his touch on my skin. I slipped into a navy blue silk nightgown, its fabric embracing my body in ways I thought were lost to time. It had been ages since I last put it on. I convinced myself it was too cold, too much effort, too pointless for us now. But tonight it was not for my husband. What about the woman in it? She had changed completely. I slipped beneath the sheets, yet sleep eluded me. My body vibrated with an urgent restlessness. His presence lingered, haunting me. His body pressed against mine, heavy with unspoken tension. His breath scorched the air. His kiss held a raw desperation. I played it over and over, each time slowing down, sinking deeper, as if etching the words of a moment I was destined to revisit.
No regrets lingered.
Not now. Not the kiss. Not how I agreed without uttering a sound. What haunted me wasn't our actions. I craved its return with every fiber of my being. I stirred before dawn, lost and uneasy. The bedroom air weighed down on me, thick with an unseen presence pressing against my chest. The wind howled against the windows as I lay there, eyes fixed on the ceiling, lost in thought. The old house groaned, surrendering to the chill of dawn. The space beside me lay bare, the sheets cold and undisturbed. I had arranged the bed flawlessly just yesterday, never touching his side. The symmetry cut deep. The day after the second kiss, the second choice, pulsed with a new intensity. Nothing had shifted in the walls, the furniture, or the routine, yet everything felt different. Everything appeared just as it always had. The faded wallpaper whispers secrets, dust-laden photos cling to memories, and the refrigerator's hum echoes solitude. Yet a change stirred deep within me. The weight pressed down, each heartbeat echoing in my veins, my movements slowed, deliberate, as if my skin had thickened while I slept. He stood in the kitchen, a shadow of presence as I entered. The newspaper sprawled before him, waiting, silent. A mug of coffee steamed in his hands, untouched, a silent witness to his turmoil. His eyes met mine for a fleeting moment before he averted his gaze. The boy who kissed me, hands pressed against my ribs, is gone. His touch still lingers, a haunting memory of how I breathed. He had retreated into silence. Silent, vigilant. Morning, I whispered, a fragile sound in the stillness. Morning, he said, his gaze elsewhere. I filled my cup and faced him, the tension thick in the air. The silence that hung between us had lost its weight of expectation. Everything had changed. Cutting, electric, brimming with unasked questions that left us breathless. He shattered the silence at last. I regret that choice deeply. Last night I gazed at him, my fingers clutching the comforting heat of my mug. His words struck me as expected. They barely hurt at all. As anticipated. But you did, I whispered. I understand. Silence stretched between us, heavy and unyielding. The air hung heavy, the house seeming to watch, to know us. Each creak of the floorboards, each groan of the pipes resonated painfully in the silence. I think it's better if I keep my distance, he said, rising to his feet. For now, while he's gone. It was a command devoid of options or questions. I stayed silent. I let him go. I nodded, my gaze fixed on him as he slipped out of the kitchen, the back door whispering shut. On that day I scrubbed away the remnants of yesterday. Not for the house's sake. I never did. But I was lost, unsure how to fill the emptiness in my palms. Through the depths of my thoughts. The ache nestled between my shoulder blades, relentless and unyielding. I tore the sheets from the guest bed, vacuumed the hidden corners, and sorted through forgotten drawers. I scrubbed the oven, rearranged the spice rack, wiped down the fridge twice. I tried to erase the memory of his lips on mine, but it lingers, haunting me. His hands danced, familiar with the rhythm of this place. It felt as if my body had whispered its secrets to him. Yet nothing changed. By late afternoon I felt drained, but not in my body. My body danced on strings while my mind spiraled endlessly. I sat at the dining room table, heart racing, and opened my notebook. The one I filled with shopping lists, home improvement dreams, and fleeting sketches. I turned to an empty page. And then I started to pour my soul onto the page. His gaze that first morning lingered, igniting something deep within me. His eyes held a wary intrigue. How his voice fell to a whisper when it was just us. My skin buzzed long after his touch lingered. I penned secrets I had never dared to whisper to my own heart. Words I never wished to etch in my own hand. Yet I pressed on. I penned my struggle with self-identity, feeling like a stranger in my own skin. Not due to transformation, but because I had at last unveiled the truths I had long concealed. The pieces that craved more. The desperate longing for a touch, not from obligation, but from a deep, unquenchable desire. Fragile warmth. Listen closely. He slipped in silently. His voice pierced through the silence, jolting me awake. What is that? I gazed upward, heart racing. He lingered in the doorway, clutching a stack of mail, the weight of unspoken words heavy in the air. His hair whipped by the wind. Silence. A void. Emptiness. I blurted out, slamming the notebook closed. His gaze held fast. He held back. He brushed by, mail slipping from his hands, unorganized and forgotten. Without looking back, he declared, I'm not avoiding you out of regret. I remained silent. I'm staying away because I'm terrified of wanting this too much and destroying it all. It froze me in my tracks. I rose, the notebook gripped tightly in my hand. I moved closer, each step charged with anticipation, until his warmth enveloped me. Do you really believe this can be safeguarded? I whispered. He turned to face me, and for an instant the air hung heavy between us. If I'm not cautious, I'll ruin you. He spoke. I shook my head, disbelief coursing through me. I fear I've already lost everything. Long before your arrival. His gaze met mine, a silent release, as if I had finally set him free to breathe. I set the notebook down on the counter and turned my back, heart racing. I didn't want to let go, but the burden was too much to hold on to. I clung to the fragile thread of control, desperate for just one more hour. In the stillness of night, I clutched a glass of wine, the room alive only with the faint glow of a solitary lamp. His movements echoed in the guest room, the soft creak of floorboards, the hushed opening and closing of drawers. I pictured him lost in a book, sprawled on his back, eyes fixed on the ceiling just like I had done the night before. The wine ignited a fire within, yet the ache remained unyielding. I rose and moved toward the hall. The door stood slightly ajar. I stayed out. Silence enveloped me. I stood frozen, hand on the frame, as the sliver of light poured out, beckoning me closer. And I lingered. Just a fleeting moment, yet it pierced through the silence. He had heard me. I turned and retreated to my room. Isolated, but forever marked. Never again. The morning was silent, but it felt anything but peaceful. The silence pressed down, a weight of unspoken questions you could no longer evade. I lingered in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, tracing the delicate cracks in the plaster, lost in thought. He was gone again, slipping away before dawn. He hardly sipped his coffee, and it felt like he hadn't truly touched me in days. The gap between us was palpable, a silent ache growing deeper. He was lost in confusion. Perhaps he knew, yet turned away from the truth. At times, silence feels easier than facing the rawness of truth. In the kitchen, I felt like an outsider, lost and alone. My hands grasped cups, sugar spoons. Yet I felt so distant. My reflection stared back at me from the oven door. My robe gapes at the chest, hair cascading around my face, eyes now shadowed with depth. I stared at a stranger in the mirror. Or perhaps a ghost I thought I had laid to rest. I discovered him on the back porch. He hunched forward, elbows on knees, eyes distant, staring past the garden where the roses drooped, succumbing to the relentless summer heat. He remained still as I stepped inside. He'll find his way, I know it. I lingered, bare feet on the edge, torn between moving ahead and retreating. He has already done it, I said. He can't face the truth. His gaze met mine, piercing and profound. What comes next? No answer came. Silence enveloped us, stretching on endlessly. The porch groaned beneath us as the wind swept through, stirring dead leaves into a fleeting dance before they settled once more. My hands held my gaze, a silent storm brewing within. They felt foreign, as if they belonged to someone else. They carried secrets too heavy to voice, brushed against realities I couldn't defend. I never wished to become her, I admitted at last. I never imagined I'd be the reason you became hers. His reply was equally hushed. His voice held no accusation. Just wait, pure understanding. That afternoon I told my husband I had to go out. He never inquired about the kind. I drove aimlessly, lost in a maze of forgotten roads, unfamiliar neighborhoods flashing by like ghosts of the past. I found myself at the old state park, where narrow trails wound through the trees and the creaky observation deck loomed over the lake. We once ventured there before vows bound us, before life turned into a routine silence. Once silence wrapped us in warmth, not separation. I parked and stepped onto the path. Dust swirled around my shoes as birds cried out from the heights above. I was lost, unsure of my next move. I walked on, each step heavy with unspoken thoughts. He discovered me in that moment. He found me, though I can't fathom how or why he chose to follow. He arrived silently, aimless, standing next to me on the deck, gazing out at the water. The lake glimmered under the fading sun, its surface trembling, caught in a silent battle for calm. He finally admitted. I read the rest of the journal. I averted my gaze from him. You understand the depths we've reached. Indeed, he replied. Yet I since you left him out. Never. I glanced away. You spoke of yourself, he pressed on, of the woman you once were, of the longings that linger, of the memories that haunt. Here's a glimpse into my world. My throat constricted painfully. You make me believe I can desire again. He moved in, heart racing. You're here. The breeze tugged at my scarf, the very one he claimed highlighted the green in my eyes. His hand moved forward, almost touching the fabric, then dropped back to his side. I can't give you stability, he said, or a plan or anything that makes sense. I understand. If you told me to stay, I would without hesitation. It stood before me, exposed, raw and vulnerable. Only stark reality, raw and unyielding. Only a choice. A bond that defied destruction. I gazed at the lake once more. Every fiber of my being screamed yes. Just stay. To pursue this journey regardless of the price to pay. Life twists and turns, never straightforward. It's a tangled knot. I was ensnared, lost in its depths. That evening I stood in the kitchen, the familiar routine of dinner unfolding around me. He walked in, keys clinking in the bowl, and pressed a kiss to my cheek. The kitchen was alive with the intoxicating aroma of grilled vegetables. All seemed ordinary. Once we finished eating, he turned to me, eyes searching, and asked if I wanted to take a walk. I agreed. We strolled through the neighborhood, shadows intertwining on the pavement, a silent promise hanging in the air. He confided in me about a client who was causing him distress. I heard every word. He inquired about my day. I deceived. I stood before the bathroom mirror, lost in thought, time slipping away. I took off my earrings, erased my makeup, and gazed into the eyes of a woman lost in her own identity. When the house fell silent, I ventured out into the night, alone. The warmth lingered, but shadows gathered in the sky. My bare feet grazed the cool grass, the robe fluttering softly at my waist, the wind tugging fiercely at its edge. He stood on the back steps, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Not with anticipation, but just as it is. Anticipation hangs heavy. I remained silent. I sat next to him, our shoulders barely brushing. I must decide, I declared. I understand. In the end, pain is inevitable. Absolutely. He simply accepted my choice. He never promised anything. That's what deepened the struggle. Why does every choice feel like a loss of something irreplaceable? Because you must. The night sky loomed above, its endless expanse suffocating my breath. In that moment I grasped his hand tightly, not to draw him closer. Let go. Yet I recall. I existed. We existed undeniably. The morning loomed, silence heavy with uncertainty. I awoke uncertain of who lay next to me. I always knew this moment would arrive. That final instant, caught between what was and what could be, belonged to me.